Imagine a chessboard the size of a continent, Africa. And now picture a new set of players poised to make bold moves. The United States under Donald Trump unveils a fresh Africa diplomatic lineup. The surprising part? It's not just career ambassadors, it's deal makers, insiders, family ties, and a fundamentally different approach to diplomacy. Buckle up. This script takes you into the who's who behind Trump's Africa strategy, why they matter, and what it means for the game of global influence. A new Africa policy. In recent months, the Trump administration has made clear Africa isn't on the sidelines anymore. Rather, it's becoming a key arena, not for charity, but for partnership, investment, and strategic influence. In July 2025, Trump hosted a working lunch at the White House with 5 African leaders from Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal. The focus? Business opportunities, not typical aid packages. At the same time, the US is signaling a shift. Less emphasis on traditional aid, more on deals, trade supply chains, and African countries that show they can help themselves. Most dramatically, one of the key figures in this shift is not a veteran diplomat, but someone with strong business and family links to Trump. Key point: the Africa play is real, and the roster looks different. Let's meet the cast. The players. A. Massad Boulos, Senior Advisor for Africa, appointed April 1st, 2025 as Senior Advisor for Africa, becoming the administration's top Africa-focused envoy. Interestingly, he is the father of Trump's daughter, Tiffany's husband, making him Trump's co-father. In-law, businessman with experience in Nigeria and elsewhere, not a traditional career diplomat. What is he doing? He has already been involved in conflict zones and investment discussions. For example, he said the US-Africa policy is built on the 3 Ps: peace, partnerships, prosperity. 1. Peace-telling. He referenced the long conflict in Eastern DRC and the role the US now aims to play. 2. Partnerships telling. He emphasized US companies and investors working with African countries. 3. Prosperity telling. The payoff of peace plus partnership. Why this matters. His appointment signals a departure from aid first to deal first. Also, the fact that someone with family connection is in this role underscores how personal networks are influencing Africa policy. Caution: some analysts point out his lack of deep diplomatic experience and question how durable these efforts will be. Highlight: Boulos is the creative centerpiece of Trump's Africa push. Not just diplomacy, but business plus strategic competition, especially vis-a-vis China. B. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. Rubio was confirmed by the Senate as U.S. Secretary of State in January 2025. On Africa, he has laid out a vision that shifts from counterterrorism/aid approaches to commercial, strategic, treaty-driven diplomacy. Example: he backed a June 27, 2025 peace deal between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, signed at the White House, combining conflict resolution and mineral investment frameworks. He also declared South Africa's ambassador persona non grata, part of a tougher posture toward countries perceived as anti-American or misaligned. His vision, as he told diplomats, every program must make the country safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Highlight: Rubio is the traditional diplomat anchoring Trump's Africa agenda, ensuring that beyond deal making there is procedural, strategic muscle. C. Career African affairs diplomats and ambassadors. While the spotlight is on Boulos and Rubio, others in the U.S. diplomatic system continue to matter. For example, Mary Beth Leonard served as U.S. ambassador to Nigeria and is an experienced Africa hand. Michael A. Rayner is a career Foreign Service officer, focused on Africa. Why this matters: the new lineup blends insiders and outsiders, the business network outsider, Boulos, and the institutional insiders, Leonard, Rayner. The interplay between them will shape how strategy is implemented. What's new and what's not in this Africa approach? What's new? Deal first mindset. The lunch with African leaders emphasized commerce, strategic minerals plus supply chains in DRC Rwanda. Context: the talk is cobalt, lithium, copper, personal networks and business ties. Boulos's appointment signals a melt between diplomacy, reduced emphasis on governance/aid as primary tools. The Chatham House commentary says U.S. ambassadors will increasingly be rated on deals. What's not changing? Africa remains important geopolitically. Competition with China, Russia remains. Conflicts matter. Peace in the Great Lakes, Iraq of the Africa, e.g. Sudan, North Africa, remain high on the agenda. U.S. still expects results. The rhetoric asks for countries that show willingness and capacity. Why this lineup matters and why you should care. Africa's rising. Many African economies are growing. U.S. wants to secure its influence before others. Dominate minerals plus tech, from EV batteries to renewable energy transitions. Africa's resource base is becoming critical. Peace equals access. The DRC/Rwanda deal shows how. Stabilizing conflict zones unlocks investment opportunities. Big picture shift. If U.S. diplomacy moves from aid to investment plus trade in Africa, that could reshape partnerships, governance models, even power balances. For viewers like you, understanding the who and why behind these moves gives insight not just into diplomacy, but into global business, strategic resources, and ultimately how the 21st century will be shaped. Potential risks and criticisms. Outsider versus insider tension. Boulos's lack of diplomatic pedigree raises questions about implementation. Critics say his role might be more symbolic. Transactional diplomacy pitfalls. A focus purely on deals may neglect human rights, institutions, governance, areas where U.S. has historically engaged. Local backlash. African states might resent being treated as investment targets rather than partners. Durability. Deals signed are one thing, they must be followed through, monitored, enforced. Without that, peace can unravel. Geopolitical countermoves. China and Russia are deeply embedded in Africa. U.S. is playing catch-up. Africa's new strategic importance. Africa is no longer just a stage for development aid. It's a strategic prize. With over 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land and vast reserves of critical minerals like cobalt, lithium, and copper, the continent is central to global supply chains. Trump's advisors view Africa as a frontline for economic opportunity and geopolitical competition, especially against China's Belt and Road influence. The private sector pivot. Unlike past U.S. administrations that focused on humanitarian aid, Trump's Africa strategy leans heavily on private investment. American companies are being encouraged to compete directly with Chinese infrastructure firms, targeting sectors like energy, mining, and logistics. A continental power play. From the Sahel to the Horn of Africa, this new diplomatic lineup aims to reshape alliances, strengthen trade corridors, and position the U.S. as Africa's preferred economic partner, signaling the dawn of a New Deal-driven era in U.S.-Africa relations. Looking ahead, what to watch? Next U.S.-Africa Summit. Trump's team is planning a larger summit around the UN General Assembly that will test how deep the engagement is. Ambassador appointments, who the U.S. picks as ambassadors to key African capitals will signal the seriousness of the strategy. Mining/investment deals announced. Keep an eye on DRC, Rwanda, Ghana, Senegal, where deals may manifest. Conflict resolution outcomes. The peace deal between DRC and Rwanda. Will it hold? Will U.S. remain engaged? Aid versus trade numbers. Will U.S. aid shrink further in favor of trade and investment? At the heart of this story, a reshaped U.S.-Africa. Relationship 1, driven less by traditional aid and more by partnerships, resources, influence, and strategic competition with Trump's Africa lineup. Where deal makers sit alongside diplomats. The continent moves from the periphery into the spotlight. Don't just watch what happens next in Africa. Understand who's driving it and why. Because what plays out on this continent will ripple globally. Resource flows, trade routes, alliances, stability. If you found this briefing insightful, don't forget to Subscribe and hit that share button. We've only just scratched the surface. Next up, we'll peel back the top. African capitals, key investment corridors, and why Beijing is watching closely. Until then, let's keep uncovering the big moves shaping our world.